these are not only a dream, break from the scheme. Waking up at dawn, all my fears are gone. I won't stop today, never, never, not today. Step by step I go, faster than the flow. Broke through every chain, I will not be contained.
Ooh, good evening, good evening. Do we have an interesting one for you tonight? Yes, it is a breakaway. I finally got a little bit of time away from all of the hails, pleadings, and oh my gosh, all of the craziness going on. Just I turned off the damn drum, Lady Tammy. It is only specifically whenever I use Streamlabs, and that one would require you to have a very high dollar amount of a super chat for that drum to ever play again. So it's still there, but it's only whenever I'm using Streamlabs. And I'm not using Streamlabs tonight. I am over on the StreamYard. And wonderful, yes. Thank Just Dawn, wonderful, lovely, lovely Just Dawn. You need to thank your husband for this. And I blame every single thing about this on him. No, this is wonderful, wonderful stuff. I have been holding off on this for so long. Thank you so much, Just Dawn. You are just a wonderful human being. And yes, this one is like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a breakaway from the norm. And it's a hard topic to cover because there was a massive amount of loss of life in a mall shooting in Texas. And according to this, there was a misidentification of the person, which brought about a very serious, lawsuit. And this man right here, thank you so much, fine sir, for sending this over to me. I'm so glad. It has been too long for sending this over to me. I do appreciate you so much. Thank you very much. No, this is a touchy one, and I've watched parts of this, and I do have some more specialness that's going to be added to this at a later date, and that will involve quite a few people to be involved in it. And this is just a preliminary of three, or is it three? I think it's three depositions that are hitting on a touchy subject. And being that we were talking about SLAPP and anti-SLAPP and the hail stuff, I think this is it shows quite a bit of information. Welcome, Levy. I appreciate you, brother. Yeah, but I wouldn't go for that. I wouldn't go that far. No, this is a very, very interesting story. And it goes to show what not having enough resources or being the first to the game, those kinds of problems can really come back and bite you really, really, really bad. So without further ado, let's dig into this. And as you know, this is Steven Crowder.
All right, today's date is August 26th, 2024. The time is 1:31 p.m. Central Time, and we are on the record.
Mr. Crowder, if you'll raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
No.
All right, sir. Can you give us your name for the record?
Steven Crowder?
You are the founder of Louder with Crowder, LLC?
Yes.
Okay. Louder with Crowder, LLC is your media company?
Yes.
You operate a website and make internet videos?
Objection form.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out that's what your media company does.
That's part of it.
What else do you do that you would say that your media company does?
Well, it's a general media company. So, yep, there's a daily program. There's a separate, reporting and investigative reporting unit, and the website operates separately where someone writes articles. So social media, kind of all encompassing media.
Okay, so I've got internet. There's a daily show. Let's start there. All right, that's a video show, correct?
Fuck, what's up?
Yes, sir.
And I know that it's also, you can get it in pure audio format too over podcasts, right?
Yes.
Okay. As far as those videos, where would I see an episode of Louder with Crowder?
So, well, it depends, what point in time. So usually YouTube, Rumble, and then Mug Club, which is, operated under locals. But for a period of time, it would have been, and pardon me, I'm sick today, so if I cough, I don't mean to be distracting. Would have been under Blaze. So Mug Club was operating under Blaze at one point. You would have been able to see them on Blaze.
Okay,
And
these
then
are,
audio wherever audio is, available, like Apple, Spotify.
in other words, to see your show, I would watch it on the internet.
Yes.
You're not carried on any cable stations.
No,
You're not carried on over-the-air broadcast television.
not today. No.
Okay. Do you have any licenses with radio stations, anything like that, to broadcast your show?
Not today. No.
Okay. Are all those answers same truth in May 2023?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you do anything to prepare for this deposition?
No, I watched. I had read the files that were sent over from your attorneys. Well, yourself, I guess.
Ooh.
The files. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
The documents, the complaints.
Okay.
Yeah.
In other words, the lawsuit that was filed.
Yes.
Okay. Have you reviewed any other documents to prepare for this deposition?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay.
And I will say that the complaints that were filed were pretty inflammatory. At some point, I may go over parts of those because people that created these files they call Crowder a right-wing activist, which is, I don't know. I don't see him as being a right-wing activist. He might be more right-leaning, but I don't see him as an activist. Hey, Grifty, what's up? Good to see you. Long time no see, brother. I hope you're doing well. Hope that life is treating you very well, sir. Good to see you.
Have you viewed your May 8th or May 9th show?
I viewed at least a portion of it. Yes.
Okay. And I'm mostly going to want to be talking to you about your May 8th show covering the Allen shooting. You're familiar with what I mean when I say your May 8th show covering the Allen shooting?
Yes.
Okay. Before I get into all that, I want to confirm some details on your background. As far as educational background,
Welcome, Tracy.
It's my understanding you attended a couple semesters of college.
Correct.
Okay. I think it's fair to say you have no educational background in journalism.
No, I wouldn't agree.
Okay. Can you
Tug
explain to me
Raid.
what your educational
Welcome.
background in journalism is?
Welcome, Tug Raiders. Welcome. I'll let you guys pile on in here. And it's hasn't got to the good stuff. No, he's not a comedian. He does spend more time doing comedy. Little skits, little pieces of, not always funny, but some of it is humorous. And I see him as more of an independent libertarian. Yeah, exactly. That I would agree with that quite a bit more. That's very much more true. So that's quite a bit more how I would view him. Thank you for putting it that way, just on that's pretty solid. Controversy, yeah, he agrees more with the libertarian views, but doesn't say he's a libertarian. That is right. Conversations with RJ. He has done stand-up shows. Yeah, he's done stand-up shows, but he does, like I said, he is more right-leaning. But if you were to say that he was a right-wing activist, no, I just don't really see that. But it's easier to portray somebody in a light that you don't understand. Why? Welcome, Mikey. How's it going, Mike Morgan? Good to see you. Popping the Tug Raid and the awesome chat. Yeah, we do have an absolute awesome chat here. This is a crazy one. And there's not just his deposition, but there's other depositions that I'll be going over also. He's always confused for Trey Crowder. That's funny, Tammy. That's funny. He's always confused for Trey Crowder. Hey, Mike Morgan, good to see you. Good to see you.
Years of experience?
Well, I'm asking specifically, we'll move on to your work experience. I'm talking about your education at this point, if you have any educational background in journalism.
Well, I did study media for, as you said, 2 semesters in college.
Okay, so when you were in college for those semesters, part of that included journalism courses?
Part of it included, yes, broadcast.
Okay. You worked for Fox back in the 2009-2013 time period?
I believe so. Time period sounds correct.
Did they provide you any training in journalism?
Experience.
I understand that you did the job for many years. I'm sure you picked up some things, right? But what I'm wondering actually is, as part of your employment, did Fox provide you with formal training in journalism?
They did not send me to journalism school, no.
Okay. Now at that time, I think it's fair to say that what you were doing for Fox was primarily concentrated on more comedic type presentations. Is that fair?
No.
Still are.
So back during the time period when you were working at Fox, would you say you were covering hard news at that point too?
Objection form.
Sometimes.
Okay. And then after leaving Fox, let's start this way. The YouTube channel you had that while you were at Fox, right?
Correct.
And you've kept using that.
No, Debbie, there is not going to be any drums tonight. That was crazy last night. If you didn't catch last night, chat was trying to break me. You just about succeeded. I managed to get everything in that I wanted to get in last night. Doggone it. But you guys did a hard drive on breaking me last night, and I appreciate it. It was fun. Thank you so much. We did have quite a bit of fun. And if you fast forward, if you're not into watching Shizzy get broken and slapped down multiple times, fast forward about an hour and you should catch it. Sorry about that. Yes, you guys were having way too much fun at my expense. I appreciate it. We did have a good time. We did have an absolute blast. So it was fun.
As a platform ever since leaving Fox, right?
Shut up.
Yes.
Am I right that there was a brief period where you weren't on YouTube? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Objection form.
How so?
Or am I right that at some point you either stopped posting to YouTube or were in some way punished by YouTube? Did anything like that happen?
Objection form.
Well, there are temporary suspensions that happen on YouTube.
Yeah, and you have to understand this about YouTube is they YouTube will give you temporary suspensions if you say something that they don't like. A lot of times what'll happen is somebody will come in, they'll report something that's on YouTube, and you'll get like a temporary shutdown, especially whenever you're someone on the level that Crowder is, where he has, I don't know what, over 1 million, 100,000, 600,000, 2 million followers watching him on YouTube. you're going to get people that are every time that lawyer says objection form, well, and that attorney is doing it properly, is saying, objection form. It is fun to watch after the fact. 3 a.m. laughing hard and thought I was about to see Shizzy lose it. Cool beans prevailed. Thank you, Mike Morgan. I appreciate it. See, YouTube has a way that they will strike people. And Crowder, being the kind of person that he is, might be making a joke about something. It could have been the coof, it could have been any number of things, and they just automatically shut his stuff down. Also because he is, what's up, fools? Good to see you. Good to see you, traveling fools. Yo, yo, yo. Good to see you, fine sir. So they would shut his stuff down on a regular, quite a bit. Just cut it off, say, hey, we're not going to allow you to do that. They would give him a strike. And what he would do is he would just post over on Rumble for the next, week or so, month, whatever it would take until that struck got lifted. It does happen. It happens to people that they consider to be right wing. Fantastic derailment. Yes, it was a fantastic derailment. Hippie Wits, I blame part of that on you, but you were wonderful. No, I'm not mad at anybody. So if you're wondering, no, you chat, you were having a good time. And in the moment, it was an absolute blast. But boy, was there all kinds of people that were upset about it. They're fine. They'll be okay. Don't worry. We do all kinds of wonderful stuff. And no, you're not. See, Jenny, you keep thinking that you're late, but you're not. 8675309. You're never late. You're here exactly whenever you were supposed to be. We're not going to let you live it down. I expect not. YouTube apocalypse. Yeah, was because Carlos Maza Lipsy Fig called socialism is for fig shirts. All the kind of stuff did cause lots of problems. And it is just the way that the social media outlets work. Hopefully they're cleaning up quite a bit of that so we don't run into that too much anymore. Thank you. Bows. Yes, I lost a bunch of coffee this morning when I watched it. Don't worry, I was losing my beans last night. They were having a lot of fun torturing me. And somebody said, oh, but the super chats. Trust me, the super chats were nothing. The super chats were glorious. I appreciate every bit of it. But if you looked at the analytics of it, the super chats were nothing compared to the amount of torture that you guys put me through. That's why we changed it. That's why I went in there and I fixed that, because so it wouldn't happen again. That was obvious. Yes, you guys were having way too much fun and watching me be tortured. And I ran through and I counted them this morning. I ran through 3 of these things of stars. This is all I have left from last night after the 3rd one. That's it. That's all I've got left. And I've got more, but man, you guys were vicious last night. No, it was fun. I had a great time, and it was a blast. I thank you all for that. We did have so much fun. And it's not going to happen too often, just so you guys know. All right, let's get back to it.
YouTube, if that's what you mean.
Okay, but in May 2023, you were posting regularly on YouTube?
I believe so.
Okay. So for instance, the coverage we're here to talk about today, that would have appeared on YouTube.
I believe so.
Okay. Now, ever since leaving Fox, say the past 10 years, fair to say that you've begun to amass a rather sizable audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You understand that as the size of your audience increased, the magnitude of potential harm that could be caused by publishing a false statement about someone also increased.
Yes.
And would you agree with me that as that potential magnitude for harm increased and your audience increased, your responsibility as a journalist also increased?
Objection form.
Well, I've never labeled myself a journalist, but yes.
I mean, well, you cover hard news. We can agree with that.
Sure. So does Jon Stewart.
Sure, absolutely. Right.
Let's see here.
And let's make it clear, even today on your show in which you cover hard news, you also do things that are comedic.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me, for instance, that the sort of care that a person like you needs to show might be
Right there.
different if you're just, say, talking with a friend at a bar versus making an
Good to see you,
announcement over a
T-Rex.
baseball stadium public address system. You understand what I mean?
I understand.
Okay. And so when making decisions about how you run your
Oh, who is this? Well, Jenny 8675309. This here would be Steven Crowder, which has probably a following in the millions, maybe, possibly. He's been around the YouTube. He's one that runs Louder with Crowder and all of these kinds of things. So that's who this is. That's who this is. Sup, y'all banned yet? I hope not. I hope not. Nobody should be getting banned. Poor Marine. No, it is one of those. This right here has a lot to do with an anti-SLAPP case and SLAPP and all of that kind of stuff. And I thought it would be appropriate tonight. That one's for you right there. I thought that would be very appropriate tonight to cover this, because this was, you're going to see what happens whenever you get a person that gets something quite a bit wrong, and this has the potential to become the next Google interview question. How many stars fit on Shizzy's helmet? Well, let's put it this way. We can only do that by figuring out how many stars are on there. There we go. Right there. That one's for you. Because I think I can fit all of them on here. That would be the answer. But how many licks does it take to get to the center of a lollipop? God. Hey, how you doing? Oh yes. We had a blast. No, there won't be a Google question. He should say, hello, chat. Good to see you, Celine. Good to see you. No, this is an absolutely, this goes to show whenever somebody decides to go on the attack of somebody, whenever you start attacking people and their persons, that the kinds of things that come out of your mouth can get you in all kinds of trouble. If you come out and you start yelling that someone is what would be the terminology, a Jew hater or anti-Semite or into eugenics or things like that, whenever you start throwing those kinds of things out there, that you open yourself up to this potential of being sued because you didn't like what they said. Those kinds of things will get you in all kinds of trouble. They can get you smacked around quite a bit. That right there is not protected speech, because that becomes very liable, because now you're creating a problem that wasn't there in the first place because your fifis got hurt. Just keeping that in mind.
business, I take it one of the things you do consider is the responsibility you have.
This right here was Crowder, and quite a few other people got sued because during that mass pew-pewing, they misidentified somebody. They posted up a picture of somebody that was not them. And this person was doxxed, they were harassed, they were given a hard time, and it wasn't the correct person. And that person being harassed, they brought about a defamation lawsuit. Now, in that defamation lawsuit, they went after the people that were reporting this. Mainly, they went after people that they consider to be right wing, and this case did settle out of court. So we don't know all of the outcomes other than it was settled. There's nothing worse than destroying someone's reputation whenever it doesn't deserve to be destroyed. Good to see you, little D. How you doing? My Lord almighty, sweetheart. How you doing? How you doing? Good to see you, Zach. Yes. Make sure you hit the like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, because this one is going to get crazier and crazier as we go through all of this. And we will be at some point reading over the deposition in true shizzy form. You know that. It's going to get wild.
Given the size of your audience. Is that right?
Well, but take responsibility regardless of the size of the audience.
Sure, I understand that perhaps even when just talking to a neighbor or a friend at a bar, you might be careful about what you say. But what I'm asking is, when you do your job, part of what you consider in how you create your policies, your requirements, etc., is you understand you're going to be talking to a very large audience and that the magnitude of harm from false information could be very great. Is that correct?
There's a lot in that statement. We take care to be as responsible as possible, regardless of the size of the audience.
Okay. Last year, when doing an episode of Louder or Crowder, how many people could you reasonably expect to view it?
Listen to this.
I don't know.
So does for instance, on YouTube, YouTube tracks the number of views your videos get, right?
So, to a degree, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rumble does the same thing. You can see how many people viewed your videos?
To a degree, yes.
Okay. And so
well, and he is correct in answering that way to a degree, because let me explain a little bit about how the way YouTube and all this kind of stuff works. Whenever, say for example, someone gets 10 million views on a video, does that mean that there were 10 million people that watched that video? Not necessarily. To some degree, there was 10 million views on that video, but a lot of times what that can be is somebody going back and watching it. Or, for example, the same way that I might do is, like, I might start watching something and then have to go like work or something like that, and then shut down the whole thing and then come back and view it again. Well, that second time counts as a view also. So he's correct in saying this, like, somewhat, that, but that's not indicative. Or you may watch it on YouTube and then turn around and watch it on Rumble. So whenever he says this, he's correct in what he's saying. It's like, sort of, but if you're thinking that I got 10 million views off of a short or off of a video, doesn't necessarily mean I got 10 million people watching it. It could have been 5 people that watched it 10 million times. Not saying that they would, but that's sort of the breakdown of it.
that should give you the number of views on Rumble and YouTube will at least give you a minimum baseline of who saw the video. Is that right?
Not true. No.
Sounds right.
And then you also know that your materials will quite foreseeably spread via social media, right?
Sure.
You're aware people share your videos.
Sure, yes.
For instance, when getting a video in this case, when I asked for a copy of the video in this case, I was directed to a website that publishes your videos without any of your input, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay. One of the things you offer your audience is fact checking of the news, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. In fact, let's bring up tab 1. All right, I want to show you something that was just posted to the website last week. And as I think you may remember, we had this deposition scheduled for a few days ago. But one of the reasons that we had rescheduled it is so that you could do fact checking at the DNC, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a portion of it, yes.
Okay. So for instance, in this broadcast, you'd be telling your audience, hey, certain claims are going to be made at the DNC, and we are going to use our skills to tell you what is real and what is not. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So your audience can expect that you're going to be talking to them about matters of truth or falsity, right?
Yes.
Do you agree it's reasonable for your audience to expect you to use the same level of care they would expect from any commercial media outlet?
Objection form.
Yeah, that is bad form.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is it's not going to be your position that, hey, I'm just a clown. I'm just a guy who plays dress up. I'm not doing news. That's not what your position is. You do hard news. Correct?
It depends on the context.
Absolutely. Sure. Like we said, there are some instances where your audience is clearly going to know that you're doing a comedic sketch, right?
Sure.
But your May 8th coverage of the Allen shooting, that wasn't a comedy sketch.
I don't know if it included sketch elements. We often mix news with sketch elements, but no, not the commentary on the reporting, no.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how things work at your business. First of all, you're the boss at Louder with Crowder, right?
Objection form.
I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm guessing what I'm asking is, if you're doing
That's a
things
good
throughout
way
your
to
workday,
answer.
is there somebody who can come to you and says, Stephen, no, you can't cover that. You're not allowed to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who would that person be?
There's going to be a multitude of people.
So there are a multitude of people at Louder with Crowder who have veto power over what you can cover on your show.
No, a multitude of people who have, wise counsel.
Yeah.
Sure. I have a lot of people in my life who have wise counsel.
Well, that's sort of what boils down to, because, you do run into this whenever you're doing these kinds of things, that you might bounce it off the idea of somebody and say, hey, I'm thinking about covering X, Y, or Z. And he does have final discretion of what he's going to say. But on the other hand, if somebody is sitting there going, you don't want to do that bad idea, he may listen to what they have to say. This is what, look at the look on his face is pretty priceless right here. He's just like, you have to be in the situation to understand.
So I listen to them and take their thoughts into consideration, but they don't have control over me.
Absolutely.
And I'm wondering if there's anybody at Louder with Crowder who has control over you, who says, if you do this, Stephen, you're fired. You don't work here anymore.
At Louder with Crowder? No, no one can fire me.
Okay. And if you want to say something on your show, is there anybody who can stop you?
Yeah.
On my show? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they could. They could just
You
cut
would
the
agree
feed.
that it would be the usual practice of Louder with Crowder. Let me put it in an easier way. You agree it's your usual practice to verify the accuracy of images you share with your audience.
Objection form.
Can you restate the question? It was telling me that.
Sure. It's if you're going to share images with your audience of news events, right? Things that depict news events, it's your usual practice to verify the accuracy of those images before you show them.
Objection form.
Sometimes.
Okay. let's make it more specific. When you're going to share an image of a purported mass murder, it would be your usual practice to verify the accuracy of that image before showing it.
Objection form. And to clarify, Mark, just so for reference, are you referring to Stephen individually or Louder with Crowder as a whole?
Him individually.
Go ahead. Nancy.
Me individually, then no.
No. So there are, in other words, let's put it this way. If you're going to use on May 8th an image, you're going to show your audience an image of who is purportedly the mass murderer. Is that something you're going to see before you go air? Or is this like a Ron Burgundy situation where you're seeing it for the first time?
Appreciate the reference to Ron Burgundy. Based on Jim Walcott, actually, Canadian.
He's just like, oh, Ron Burgundy. That's funny. That's funny. I love it that he can find humor in it.
Canadian sitcom. There's a difference between breaking news, for example, something that's exclusive to us, where there's obviously very strict, much more strict process of due diligence. If we are the news, then there's reporting on the news that is available publicly, or reporting on someone else's report. So to answer your question, we would obviously ensure that the reporting on that person's reporting is accurate, meaning the original source would be the reporter.
Okay.
Yeah. So, oh, no drums tonight? How about dancers? No, you're not going to get any dancers tonight. I swear I will not be dancing because I can't dance at all. I have 2 left feet and both of them stand firmly planted right there. That one's for you. That was for you. Thank you very much, Semperfi. No, there will not be any drums. There will not be any dancing. This is just a little more serious tonight. But what Crowder just said is very important. Whenever you're reporting something like this, it's that he is taking, and I'm just using this as an example. In the mornings, whenever I do my morning streams, I'm reporting what somebody else has already written, what somebody else has researched. I am just bringing that story forward and talking about that story. There might be some commentary. There might be things like that. I can't go back and verify every single story that I talk about. That right there would require much more time and much more money than I ever could possibly make on YouTube. So if there, for example, if I'm covering a story, I'm looking at, for example, the Hales case. If I'm looking at that, all I'm doing is talking about those particular things that I'm seeing in those pleadings, and I have my opinion on them. Doesn't mean that I'm correct or accurate, but I'm going to be a little bit more stringent on myself than if I'm showing what somebody else is reporting. For example, back a little bit ago, I pulled up something off of Twitter that was talking about I think it was Obama's birth certificate. Now, you also have to remember that without me just all of a sudden seeing it for the first time, if I would have covered it, it could have been shown as disinformation, because I'm getting somebody else's secondhand information. And I'm hoping that they already did their due diligence in that aspect of it and searched out that information, and that what I was reporting on was accurate. That right there can hit that fine line of getting somebody else's information and talking about that. So that's what he's saying. I would, yeah, it would need XQ staff we'd need a large staff of people to do that kind of research. He does have a larger staff, and he can do quite a bit more research than I can on things. But also, if it's something that's breaking at that particular time, you may not be able to vet all of that.
Okay. So in terms of sharing an image, right? I believe what I'm hearing is that if it is your original reporting, you would have a higher level of care than when you are repeating someone else's
Makes
reporting.
sense.
Is that fair?
No, what I'm saying is that there's a difference between breaking news, being the subject of news, and reporting on someone else's news. So use your example like the DNC. That's their story. They run images or claims. So we report on what they are running.
All right, let me give you an example. If the DNC puts up an image, right, and says, here is, let me give you an example. Says the DNC puts up an image of Mount Rushmore and says, this is the Washington Monument, right? You would be able to fairly and accurately report the DNC is saying that this picture is the Washington Monument. That's fine. Right? We're on the same page so far?
Yes, and I would show their picture.
All right. It would be different to say, here is a picture that the DNC is showing that they say is Mount Rushmore. And I'm telling you they're right. That's different in your mind, right?
No.
That's the same thing. So you can report, in other words, this is what I'm trying to get at, is it is okay for you without investigating to report someone else's accusation as truthful.
To
Objection form.
report their reporting as authentic and truthful. Yes, if I believed it was Mount Rushmore and they told me it was Mount Rushmore,
Yeah,
show a picture and show
he's
their picture.
correct.
And do it without any further checking.
Yes.
Myself at that moment in time, if I believed it was Mount Rushmore that they were, why would I not believe the DNC?
It's a good question. DNC is an organization you might not always believe, though, right?
Welcome,
fair.
welcome,
Right?
Tug
They
Raiders.
have-
Welcome,
in your eyes,
welcome.
they have some credibility issues, I would take it, right?
Good to see you. Good to see all.
It depends on who they are.
So, in other words, what I'm saying is not all sources
Good to
are
see you,
equal.
Mayor Dan.
That's fair.
Okay. Would you agree that it's important to verify the accuracy of an image of a purported mass murderer before showing it to your audience?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why is it important to verify the image of a mass murderer before showing it to your audience?
Well, same reason that it would be important to verify anything.
Why is that?
Yeah.
If you are making a definitive claim,
Mhm.
you should do your best to be accurate
Why?
because truth matters.
Just intrinsically, or why? Did things happen? What can happen?
Intrinsically.
Thank you, Em. I appreciate you so much.
Do you understand, though, that if false information is posted about somebody, is published about somebody, that can have effects on the people who are the subject matter of those reports?
I would assume so.
Is that something that you can, let's put it this way. If you have news that you're going to report that, if false, could have a damaging effect on someone's reputation or cause them grief, you would agree you need to take special care with that kind of news.
If one is making a definitive claim, they should do their best to be accurate.
Yes. Good to see you, Big Al.
Do you know the difference between a primary and a secondary source?
Yes.
Okay, can you help us understand that first by telling us what is a primary source?
Objection form.
But it would depend on the context when you're discussing journalism, or if you're discussing, like I said, commenting on someone else's journalism. Primary source would be the primary reference point, person who's the originator of it, and a secondary source would be a corroborating resource, confirming or also covering it.
Okay, I'm going to kind of give you what I believe would be the understanding that I'm operating from, just so we can talk using the same terminology, right? Like if I was going to tell you, if I'm going to talk about a chair, I'm going to tell you what a chair is, right? Have you ever heard that a primary source would be information that originates from a person or entity that is either has a firsthand account or is actively involved in the events being reported?
Yes.
Okay. And then a newspaper, for instance, or a academic treatise or some other publication that is writing about an event that it did not have firsthand involvement in, that'd be a secondary source. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of, let me do it this way. You would agree you should not display the image of a suspected mass murder unless the image had been confirmed by someone involved in the official investigation or by reference to some kind of primary source.
All right. So I know that we've got a fine group of people that have just joined in. Welcome all you Tug Raiders. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up, and make sure that if you're not subscribed, let's see if we can push this. I just need what I think it's like 200 more subs, and it hits that 8,000 mark. See if you can make that happen. It'd be awesome. Not necessary, but it would be awesome. And what is this? This is Steven Crowder. Okay, there was a shooting in Texas. And Crowder and a few other reporters showed an image of a person that was not the shooter. And in doing so, they caused this person a lot of grief, a lot of emotional harm, a lot of people doxing them, showing up their front door, a lot of questions. Now, this case did get settled out of court. So once the suit was brought, they brought him all in for depositions, and not too long after these depositions, and of course, I don't know what those are because usually those are closed off to the public, but there was some sort of settlement that they basically paid this person off so they could continue on with what they're doing. And it forces them to be a little more strict. So if you're wondering what this is about, this is a deposition of Steven Crowder that was involved in spreading misinformation and basically causing a lot of grief to somebody that didn't deserve to have that kind of grief. Now, they do portray him to be a right-wing activist and these kinds of things, but just take it for what it's worth, because this is really important whenever you start looking at this. The kind of things that can happen to people that, for example, have run a YouTube channel that might be saying things that are not true, or bringing up things that are false, or spreading misinformation that's not true. This is what happened with Steven. He reported on something, used somebody else's image for something that he wasn't involved in. And so I believe he understood that what he did was wrong, or they just said, we'll just pay it and we'll move on with life, because this is, I don't feel that they did it properly. They don't think that they did it properly, but they're trying to make him out to be some sort of evil boogeyman, and it's just these kinds of mistakes happen. This is the cost of doing business, especially whenever you're on there. Welcome, Selena. Good to see you. Yeah, thank you very much, Zach. I appreciate it. Like I said, people are welcome to hit the thumbs up. It does well for the algorithm, and I appreciate everybody coming in and showing some love. And no, there will not be any wild, crazy banjos happening tonight. That was crazy last night, and I appreciate it. And I will have you know that it was very disturbing, but I did have a good time, and you brought me out of funk that I was in last night, and I thank you for that. It was a good time. Oh, thank you, Beth. I appreciate you so much. You did your thumbs up. I love that. Jaws, beautiful. I like what happened to Rich. Exactly. That's exactly it, Darlene. Richard Jewell was accused of the Olympic bombings way back when he was a security guard who found the bomba. Yes, that was, and strangely enough, one of my friends at the time was actually delivered a pizza, and he didn't know he was delivering a pizza to, but he was just, why are all these people here? He delivered a pizza to the guy, and just really felt bad for him, because this guy did nothing wrong, and it destroyed his entire life. And people still to this day believe that he had something to do with it, and all he was doing is actually protecting people. but that's a rough way to go. Yeah, absolutely. Also, organizations as large as Louder with Crowder typically carry some sort of insurance that will pay out to a certain amount. Hopefully they don't get sued, but yes, that is not uncommon that they will get some sort of suit against them. That's why you don't go on the attack of people. Thank you so much. That is for you there, very much so, T-Rex. But yeah, also more than likely he has to have some sort of underwriter to handle that kind of information. Used to be friends with then I used to be friends with like Ben Shapiro. One gal was real quick on her replies. Can't think of her name now. Or Charlie Kirk. Yeah, there's quite a stuff like that. Strange Banjos. Deliverance comes to thoughts. You don't go and watch last night unless you're going to fast forward if you don't like banjos, because you guys were giving me out. You were funny last night, but I think I've cured that. So if I'm running Streamlabs, and I'm not running Streamlabs right now, but if I'm running Streamlabs, you'll know because the layout's just slightly different. If I'm running Streamlabs, the only way that you're going to get that banjo to play is if you do a $50 super chat or higher. Other than that, you're not going to get the banjos. So I cut that stuff out. So you guys can't just get away with it with just gifting memberships and having the banjos go off. It's not going to happen. I'll still see it, but it's not going to happen. I love you guys. You guys were so much fun last night. Thank you for bringing me out of the funk. I thought the banjos were hilarious. They were hilarious, but it was very distracting whenever you're trying to read through something and all of a sudden it just was nonstop. I think it went off for, oh, good Lord, probably about 30 minutes of just nonstop you guys torturing me. It's okay. I'm up to the task. Vicious people. But I did have a good time, and it did bring me out of a funk, and thank you so much. Yes, they completely destroyed that guy over nothing. That's absolutely right. And this is what happened with this gentleman. And I think, he's not going to sit here and admit to any sort of wrongdoing, but I guarantee you they were probably happy to have this over.
Do you agree with that?
No.
Okay. And would you agree that you don't fulfill your responsibility in verifying the photo of a mass murderer by assuming that another news organization has verified the photo?
No.
Okay.
I don't agree.
What are your requirements for publishing a photo allegedly showing a mass murder?
Objection form.
So the process would be similar for any stories in which we're not the primary source, to use your example, would be to find at least one source that would be viewed as legitimate. So usually that's why, when we provide references, we often use left-leaning sources, which we make available every day for every show, and then confirm it with another source where it is available. That would be the process when it's someone else's reporting.
Does it matter who's reporting it?
That's why I said you try and find the initial, the most credible source to use as a primary source, because it's a little different when covering news. Mm-hmm. So to give you an example, if there is a new study conducted on, let's say, a COVID intervention, primary source would be one on PubMed, right? The people who conducted the trial. Secondary source would be CNN covering said clinical trial. So same principle, but it's a little different when covering someone else's reporting. So the primary source that we would look for would be as authoritative as available at that time.
All right, so to use that example, if you didn't have access to the PubMed article, but you did have access to a CNN report in which they reported on the PubMed article and cited that PubMed article, that's probably okay to report on. You would agree?
Not necessarily.
I would report according to CNN.
Right. What if CNN didn't have any sort of primary source? What if CNN just reported a fact, but it didn't have any source?
That's why I would report it according to CNN.
Okay. And it would be important for you to make clear that you had not been able to verify that. Would you agree to that?
No.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about this incident we're here about today. You understand that on May 6, 2023, a neo-Nazi mass shooter murdered several people at the Allen Outlet Malls.
Objection form.
No.
You don't understand that right now, sitting here today?
The way you said it, no.
Help me understand what you mean by that. What is it about that
I don't understand a neo-Nazi mass shooter, no. Mass shooter, yes. No. Neo-Nazi mass shooter, no.
Okay, you're aware that the shooter had tattooed neo-Nazi symbols on his body.
Sure.
You're
Sure.
aware he did it with a right-wing death squad vest. Right, you don't contest any of that.
I'm aware that was reported, yeah.
That's what was reported.
All right, well,
Ooh,
I'm not
very
asking you
good.
whether it was reported. I'm asking you whether you can, like, do you believe that's true? Do you contest that?
No, I don't contest that he had the tattoos, no.
Okay. So I guess the hang up is you
Get
you
some
have a
rest,
shooter
Tracy.
who's tattooed up with a swastika and SS lightning bolts, but you're hesitant to call that a neo-Nazi mass shooter.
Yes, thank you, Grandkids.
Correct.
That's
Okay.
absolutely right.
You covered that shooting on your show and your website?
Objection form.
I discussed it on the show.
Okay. And there was an article on the website, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay. And you agree that in covering the shooting, that an image was repeatedly published of my client, Mauricio Garcia, who had nothing to do with the shooting.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah, here's where they're
So
getting
let's
into
talk
it.
about the show, the May 8th show. In that show, you told the audience that the media was lying about the shooting and that you were going to show them the true information, right?
Objection form.
I don't know if those are my words, but okay.
Well, let's pull up tab 2. All right, I'm showing you now what is tab 2. We'll be offering this as exhibit 2. This is every day with your show. There's also a web page posted called the show notes, right?
Yes.
Okay. And today I'm just going to read the first paragraph here. There was a deadly mass shooting in Allen, Texas, and we have
A funny factoid in this case, the picture of the individual he showed had the exact same name, lived in the same area, but was a few years older. Thank you very much, Levy. That's a very good factoid. Thank you very much for that.
information on the killer, Mauricio Garcia. We'll be refuting the media's lies about the fact that he was a white supremacist and so much more. You see that?
I do.
Okay. So again, you had information on the shooter and you were going to refute the media's lies, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when viewers tuned into this, they could reasonably expect that you were going to be trying to provide them with true information about the shooter.
Yes.
And that in providing that information, the information that you had, you demonstrate that the media was lying about the shooting.
Primarily, the media was lying about the shooter. Seems to be the copy written there by Brodigan. Yes.
Sure, let's
Okay.
change that.
Okay. Media.
Because the shooting itself is a bigger topic than the shooter, right? Just one person. So let me ask that again. You had information on the shooter, and you would be refuting the media's lies about the shooter.
Well, that's a
Objection
description.
form.
That's a description written by Brodigan on the website, a synopsis of the show. I spoke on the program regarding the media lies and what they were.
Well, let's take a look at that. Let's bring up tab 3. All right, I'm going to show you an excerpt that I want to ask you some questions about from your May 8th show. So let's play that now.
Who the shooter was first. Okay. So you're going to hear the media give you some reports. A lot of what they say is bullshit. All right. Shooter was a 33-year-old Hispanic male. His name was Mauricio Garcia. Mauricio Garcia. Now, the reason that we are pulling this, and you're asking yourself because we make the references available, we're pulling this from Today News Africa, is because it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face.
All right. So just to show this is very important, because the only information they were getting was from this particular place. And you're a good person. It's everyone else. It's not nice. Magic Angel, you are a good person. And no, everybody else is absolutely sweet and lovely. Everyone is wonderful here. So we'll be good. We'll be good.
You won't find his face in, here you go, NBC, Wall Street Journal, CNN, CBS,
True.
Washington Post. They want to tell you that he was a white supremacist,
Yes.
and not see his very Hispanic-looking face.
Right. And a second ago, I actually signaled you because CNN had that lower kind of chyron that said basically that this person was influenced by white supremacy. That's the headline that they're running with right now, over.
Yeah.
To make sure they drill it in.
Okay, my first question is, in the lead up to that show, you had been reviewing a lot of media coverage about the shooting.
Objection form.
Exactly. Thank you very much. If you did that, you would be as accurate as the fleas. That is very true. I know it was. It's copying like that. Well, you don't have to. Don't copy. Follow this lovely young lady right here. If you haven't hit the like, subscribe, share, you're not a nice person. I bid you good day, sir. You guys are funny.
Yes.
Okay. And that review of the media coverage showed that Today News Africa was the only news outfit purporting to show a picture of the shooter's face. Correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. That review of media coverage, that showed that Today News Africa was the only news outfit purported to show the shooter's face.
No.
Okay. So when you said we're pulling this from Today News Africa, it's because it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face. That wasn't accurate.
Sorry, what was the last part of that question?
That wasn't accurate, what you said in the video.
What I was saying was it was the only place currently with an article including the image of the shooter. Yeah.
Okay.
At that moment in time, as I believed it.
Right. So
what he's saying is the only information that he could find on this particular image of the shooter's face, it would be, and Libby, I'm just going to use you as an example. Like, if the only place that was showing me an image was over on News Africa of saying that Libby was not this person, but they were just showing this image, it could have been an image of anyone that they pulled up. You're taking it for the word that they actually found the correct image of that person. So what he's reporting on is what News Africa is showing. It can be a little bit sort of in there. Not saying that Libby was the one that was doing it, but that was the only image that was available, and they just happened to have the wrong person. You're busy chowing down on some Fritz pie. I don't know what that is, but it sounds damn good. Just saying, that's pretty damn good.
when you were making that broadcast, your review of media had shown you that Today News Africa was the only news outfit doing that, showing a purported picture of the shooter's face.
No.
Okay. I'm a little confused because I thought what you had just said was that at that time, that's why you said that it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face.
Mhm.
Is that right or is that not right?
No, it was the only place at that moment in time with an active article, including that image. Of course, there were
Okay.
many other places that had created or social media. So at that moment in time, because that was a White House press credentialed reporter.
Well, no, that's all I'm asking about is
Ooh.
that moment in time,
Mhm.
and that they're the only.
Well, and so what they were saying is this was a White House presidential reporter, someone that sits inside of those press conferences that was reporting on this. Ooh, that gets really, yeah. Today News Africa, this Today News Africa says this is actually me. Yes, it is. All 8'9" of you.
News outfit purporting to show the shooter's face. We can agree with that.
I don't.
Can
I
you
don't
tell
agree.
me? Can you tell me the news outfits that at that moment in time were showing the shooter's face?
No, it'd be difficult to remember. It was everywhere on social media and different articles. So
Well, look, I understand it was on social media. Social media are not media outfits, right? Just some random person on social media is not a media outfit.
Well, that's to be debated. So if you want to claim that social media is not a media outfit, I think it sort of says it right there in the name, social media. So it is media. Now, does it mean that is your mainstream media? No, not necessarily.
Correct.
no, I disagree.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Good
if you
point.
just came across a random account, they, ultra MAGA guy 567, and you saw the picture there, you'd say, well, look, that's a media outlet publishing this photo. Is that right?
No.
Okay.
No.
So as far as any other news outlets,
No, but if it was and he's sort of correct in this. What he's saying is but on the other hand, just some random guy posting out there saying, oh, blah 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 X, Y, or Z. Yeah, but if it's let's just use an example. If it was Tug or Cat Turd or Elon Musk that was posting on social media, or possibly even the White House posting on social media, something that happened, and we could take this back to the Biden era. If they're posting something, they're posting it up on social media. Are you supposed to disregard what they're saying? Are you supposed to say, oh no, they're just social media, whenever it's the official whitehouse.gov posting something up there? You would take that as all. I'll listen to social media over mainstream media any day. Yes, and I will say, and also there's a caveat to that, because now you also have what happens in the Twitterverse, is that there's community notes in there, which is able to fact check something that gets posted up or retweeted or whatever the hell you want to call it. Those things actually get fact checked in real time. Like I've seen stuff that I've pulled up and I've covered, and I was like, oh, that's actually not true. That'd be disinformation. That would be a lie. That didn't actually happen. Let's say, for example, I was to see a massive explosion. Well, on social media, they have the ability to real-time fact check it, and people will say, oh no, that's actually an AI generated image of an explosion. That's not an actual explosion. Most of the time you can sort of suss these things out. It'll also give you, say, oh no, that happened in 2017. This isn't an updated information. You can go back and pull those things up and say, yeah, that I was incorrect in posting this or retweeting it or streaming it on my channel, because a perfect example is, as I have these cute, wonderful little baby peacocks that people are holding in their hands, and everyone's like, oh, where can I get one of those? Are those real baby peacocks? And I say, no, those are actually not real. Those are AI generated peacocks. They're not real. But and so to a sense, he's correct in you know, if the whitehouse.gov is posting something out there, if CNN is posting something out there, or reputable news station, and that's his point in this is someone that has White House press credentials that's posting these kinds of images, and he's reusing those images and saying this is something that MSNBC, CNN, ABC is not posting. Does this person look like the person that did it? So he's pretty accurate in this, pretty solid.
That we're showing you the shooter's face. Right now, you can't think of any, right?
I don't remember which ones, not that one.
Right.
I remember that one because it was a credentialed reporter.
So
A
what I'm really
credentialed
trying
reporter.
to get to is this line from the show. We're pulling this from Today News Africa. It's because it's the only news outfit showing you the shooter's face. Is that statement true or false at that moment in time?
Could have been poorly worded.
All right. So there are other news
Good
outfits
answer.
showing the shooter's face at this point in time.
Objection form.
I believe there were.
Okay. You just don't know what they are, right?
Not at this moment, no.
I can't imagine they played a big role in your decision to use this photo then, right?
Objection form.
They could have.
I mean, you can't testify to that today. You have no idea what they are, right?
Objection form.
They could have. I couldn't testify to, for example, fact checks of the DNC when one primary source is used, other corroborating sources, because I don't remember if we check it once or twice with another source. We provide usually one.
Okay.
So it's of equal importance to have other people who do.
What do you mean by that? It's of equal importance to have other people that do. What does that mean?
Meaning whether it's social media, whether it's other news outlets, there are several sources that we'll
That's
often
right,
check, but,
Lorraine.
one
That's
is made
absolutely
available.
correct.
So if CNN makes a claim and we check it and then we see that Washington Post makes the same claim, well, in the reference, CNN may be the one that we reference, but Washington Post was very valuable in ensuring that, CNN wasn't the only one making that claim.
Sure.
Well, and he's making a pretty valid point. And yes, OPS get sued. So did News Africa got sued. And there was another one that was just like, I don't believe anything on mainstream media anymore. I can believe some of it, but I have to, it becomes one of those touchy situations because you can only verify so much before the story is where everybody's covering it, and then there's no point in actually talking about it or discussing it because it's sort of beaten into the bush, or say it's beaten like a dead horse, where you've sort of proved your point. The horse is dead. I don't want to see anymore. So there is something. It's Steven Crowder. Yeah, it's Steven Crowder. Okay, you're late. Who is this, and why are we talking about this? Sorry. Well, this has to do with a defamation case that happened against a gentleman that had nothing to do with the shooting and the Allen, Texas mall shooting. They showed the wrong image, and they reported. They showed an image of a Hispanic male, which caused him a lot of grief. He was doxxed. He was shunned by his community. People were calling and asking about, why are they reporting on you? And it was, they just got the wrong identification. In doing so, this actually did settle out of court for an undisclosed amount of monetary, because that would be horrible. It would be just no different than if somebody showed my image on the TV screen saying this person did something horrible, and I was never anywhere near it, and it wasn't me. We just happened to share the same name. That could be considered defamatory. Such a contrast to LP's deposition. Yes. And you're very correct in this, because this is the proper way to handle the deposition. You answer the questions to the best of your ability. You're not trying to throw any sort of kink in the chain. You're just responding to each and every question properly and appropriately. If you'll watch that, his attorney, whenever they're doing objections, they'll say things like objection to form, and that's all they say. They don't have to carry on a soliloquy about it. This is very professionally done, and kudos to all the attorneys there. Social media, taking it with a grain of salt is implied. Mainstream media claims to be above approach. That's the difference to you, as it is to a lot of people. So if you're seeing something on social media, you sort of have to take it with a grain of salt until you can actually verify it. And whenever you have multiple people reporting on it, you can take for what they're saying to be true. And this brings back to, for example, Sandman. A young gentleman that was underage was being harassed, and the way that mainstream media portrayed it was that this young man was being aggressive and violent and starting a problem within a community. And then once all of it started to come out, all of that information started to come out, come to find out the Sandman was just a teenage kid that was standing there and keeping his mouth shut. Just beautifully well done. And in doing so, he was able to come back for an undisclosed amount of money and sue those news stations that were claiming that he was some sort of right-wing extremist, which he wasn't. He was just a kid. He was just a kid. Or you'll also get into the Rittenhouse portion of it, where they had Rittenhouse, and a lot of people believe that Rittenhouse had deleted, 3 African-American, gentlemen because of the protests that were happening in his town, saying that he carried a firearm across state lines. And he came back and he actually sued all of these news stations for inappropriately saying things that he didn't do. So it happens on both sides. That was weird. Everything just sort of crashed right there for a second. Sorry about that, but you're absolutely correct in this, Big Al. Thank you. So give me just a second. I will bring this back up here. Share screen. All right, let's continue on with this thing.
But as we discussed, all sources are not equal, right?
Sure,
Yes.
not all sources are equal. I would agree.
Okay. So we don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what reasonable basis did you have to believe that this photo was being published or was accurate? And so far I'm hearing Today News Africa, and I'm not sure if I'm hearing.
That is very true, Heather May. That did happen. But it's also Canada. That was weird. Yeah, that was weird. It's okay. It's okay. It happens. I probably need to get a new video card at some point in time. So, that's all it was. It's just things happen like that. Stupid internet. Yes, I agree with you, Emma. Misogynist.
hearing anything else.
Oh, no, that's not the reason that I believe it was accurate. I believe that everything else mentioned in the clip you even just showed was correct. As far as the age, as far as the weapons used, and most importantly, the African-American officer, the black officer who took out said shooter, which wasn't being covered, and the media coverage of it. And then there was the image that was incorrect, but all that other information was correct.
Right, but I'm here because my client was misidentified, right? I don't care too much about
Absolutely.
this African-American police officer or whatever, right? Like,
Oh,
I'm
you
trying to
don't care
figure
about
out-
him? That's
I mean, the whole point of me having you here today.
well, that's pretty self-entitled, righteous bitch right there. I don't care about this African-American guy. Oh, no, to hell with him. Did you need more banjos to get a new video card? And what's really funny about that, May, is the amount of super chats I got last night was nil. It was small. It was set for any amount of money. So there were people that were able to chat 99 cents and make that damn banjo go freaking crazy. So if everybody thinks that I just made a shit ton of money last night over it, no, I got a shit ton of grief over it. And the payoff on it was really low, but I do appreciate everyone because you were having fun. I was having fun. And if anybody's upset over that, I do apologize. It was a mistake on me. It wasn't anybody else's mistake except for mine, because I was like, oh, this would be pretty cool. I can sort of get notified whenever a super chat comes in. And yeah, it was pretty crazy, and you guys were loving every single bit of it. But he asked him why he would think the info was accurate. He listed the things that were accurate, and now the lawyer says he doesn't care about those things. Hope he calls him out on that. Well, that and I agree with you. I wish that he could call him out on it, but you also have to understand this is sort of a one-sided conversation where, he has to be very careful with his wording whenever you're in a deposition. There's a lot more going on. Yeah, it was deliverance stream. Thank you very much. We will forever. Thank you very much, Libby, because we will forever. That I should just change that to the deliverance stream. Thank you so much for that idea, because that is what it felt like. I felt like I was squealing like a pig. Just gonna say that was pretty much a reaming. It was an unexpected, out of control banjo fest. Yes, it was. It got absolutely crazy last night. Yes, you're right. He can't get smarty. Jeremy Hells has to be careful not to do that. To a point. Jeremy Hells is very bright. He's, a lot of people think, oh, he's just this big, loud buffoon. But no, Jeremy is very smart. And yes, especially as things move forward in it, you can also sense that he's just getting frustrated with the idiotic questions that he's being asked. So it tends to be, it's hard to ride that line, because you're just like, it's like you've asked me 10 times, why do I think that the sky is blue? I mean, at some point in time, you just because that's the personality, you say, well, because God says it is, or whatever you might want to do. You just sort of get frustrated with the endless point of it. You saw the last bit, but it was quite funny. No, and the last bit of it, I will tell you, if you don't want to watch people just completely roast me and deliver, as Libby put it, the deliverance stream, just fast forward past all the super chats where I bring it back up on screen, and you will see the rest of my outlook on all of those depositions. Yes, Jeremy had to deal with very stupid questions. I would agree with that. Jeremy Hill's interviewed on Business last night's show was just how intelligent on top of things he really is. Got to see a serious side without the drama. It was excellent and informative. Absolutely, Jam. That was correct. That was over on Vet Nation's stream, and he did a really good job of covering that. That was absolutely wonderful. You turned down the volume last night till the banjo stopped. It had trust me, you had a wicked headache. Oh, every bone in my body was aching after last night. But I did enjoy it. I did watch to the end. Oh yeah, we did eliminate the banjos. We did bring them back towards the end, but you guys were very, very generous in your time and energy, and I thank you all for that, because it was wild. It was wild.
Try to figure out, did you have any basis to think this thing was real? in terms of
Yeah.
this picture, in terms of this picture.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm here in today's News Africa. Can you tell me any other reason you had to think that it was real?
Well, all the other, no, what I'm saying is that all the other reporting information was correct, and a White House press credentialed reporter also included an image. Everything else reported was correct. The image was incorrect from the White House press credentialed reporter.
All right. Put a pin in that.
That
We're
is
gonna
a
come
great
back and talk to you
response.
about that. I promise we're going to talk about this reporter and White House credentials and all of that. So make sure to remember that. I want to ask you though, in the video, you said you won't find his face in NBC, Wall Street Journal, CNN, CBS,
Correct.
Washington Post. They want to tell you that he was a white supremacist and not see his very Hispanic looking face. Do you remember seeing that in the video?
Yes.
All right. So we can agree that you told your viewers that mainstream media outlets were hiding the picture from the public for nefarious political reasons.
Yes, they were.
Objection form.
Which picture?
The picture you were displaying from Today News.
No. No, I don't agree.
Okay. So when you said that you won't find his face in those outlets and they want to tell you that he was a
It's okay if I didn't make a whole lot of money. It wasn't all about money. I will tell you, I was having, and I'll just let you know a little information. I was having a pretty bad night. I was not feeling it. Those kind of nights happen where you're just not quite feeling it. You're just like, But chat with your antics. I don't want to blame that wonderful hippie there. I love you. With your antics made that night so much fun. And it wasn't about the super chats. Trust me, it wasn't about the super chats. It really brought me out of a funk that I was feeling. And you brought a smile to my face. And thank you so much for that, because it like I said, the super chats were super low and everybody was having a good time. And it like I said, it brought me out of a great funk. So I'm not really worried about the money. That was the money is always nice to have. But I will tell you, it just brought joy to my heart to see that you guys were having fun of mocking me, because like Levy said, this is going to go down as in history as an absolute, like, how bad can Shizzy boomer something? Well, I think I don't think I've reached my pinnacle of boomering something, but that was pretty damn close. So we'll try to not top that out at any point in time. So I can say that was the absolute worst that I've done. There was a couple of good super chats, but the rest of them were 99 cents. Exactly, Big Al. Like I said, whenever people are just like, "Oh, you had to be killing on super chats." Oh God, no, I did not kill on super chats. Trust me, it was about the fun of the moment. And thank you guys for sharing in the fun. And if you didn't like it, I do apologize. It wasn't intentional to drive you guys up the wall. And I realize, as you'll probably figure out pretty soon, if you ever watch that stream again, God forbid, if you just fast forward past all of that, you'll get to the meat of the story. And I think the rest of it was very informative. And it was my OnlyFans Shizzy. Yes, thank you, Kevin. That was about right. It was a roast. It was an unintentional roast, and I'm glad that you guys had fun torturing me for over an hour. Thank you very much for that. It did bring me out of a funk. Thank you. Yes. Yes, you were involved in that too. Thank you so much. We did have fun. And thank you very much for that. It did, like I said, brought me out of a funk that I was in. You guys are bad.
White supremacist and not see his very Hispanic looking face. You're saying that's a choice they made, right? These media outlets made a choice.
Yes.
To include no image verification. Yes.
To include no
There you
images
go.
of the plane of the shooter, right?
Right.
Right. And the reason that they didn't include pictures of the shooter The reason you had to get it from Today News Africa is because they didn't want the public to see the shooter's face. That was what you were telling your audience.
Objection form.
No.
Ooh.
I'm having trouble reconciling what you're saying now with what you said in the video.
Well, that's your
Because
problem.
You said straight up that they don't want you to see his very Hispanic looking face. So that we can say the media outlets made a decision for political reasons to say that he was a white supremacist, that they did not want to show his face. Right? That's what you were telling your audience.
To show any images, sure. Yeah.
Right. And you had an image, right? You had one that you think they should have shown.
Objection form.
No, I believe they should have shown any image, including the footage of including the misidentifying of the black officer. At that moment in time, there was a push for gun control and a white supremacist shooter. At the time, we were told that was the greatest domestic terror threat. And it was an editorial decision to not include a litany of information as it related to the shooting in total, including a Hispanic shooter who was simply labeled a white supremacist.
I want to talk about two possibilities
Yep.
that existed for you on
good,
May.
solid.
All right. One possibility is that major media organizations made a decision that they were not going to show any pictures of the shooter's face. And they were doing that because they wanted to press a story about white supremacy.
Yes.
And a second possibility is that those news organizations were either unable to confirm the accuracy of a photo, or they had already determined that the photo that you were showing was false. Right? You understand those two possibilities?
No.
No.
I'm
with them on that.
I'm
No.
understanding. You understand that those are two possibilities that exist.
No, the second one is not possible.
It is not possible that the news organizations you were referring to were either unable to confirm the accuracy of the photo or had already determined it was false. You're saying that's impossible.
You just said had determined the image I showed was false.
Correct.
They would not have been able to do that because I was reporting on their reporting. So they wouldn't have been able to report on my image being false or confirm it because their stories were already out there.
Wasn't your image,
Nice.
though.
Good answer.
All right.
Beg your pardon?
We just talked about you didn't break the symbol.
Oh, sorry, when you said my
breaking the
image, you said they wouldn't, you said second possibility definitively using that they determined my image was false.
The image you used.
reported, so that wouldn't be possible.
Let's rephrase that because I'm just saying the image you used.
Yeah, good,
All right?
good.
Let's take the image you used.
Yeah, that attorney, because he phrased it improperly, and you see how fast he backtracks on that. You fell asleep when everything quieted down. Well, thank you, Lorraine. Well, but I do appreciate that you hung out. And I will tell you, Lorraine, you can always go back and you can watch the last hour of that stream. Is quite informative. Crowder is very intelligent. He is correct in this matter. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Georgianne. That's exactly my thinking. That he's very accurate in what he's saying.
And divorce it from your production, right? That is a physical image that existed out there in the world, right?
That image, yes.
Yes. It is totally possible that the reason the media wasn't printing any pictures of the shooter is because they'd been unable to confirm the authenticity of any picture, or they had already confirmed that picture we're talking about, that picture of my client, they had already determined.
No, but he already answered this. And what he's saying is that particular picture, the chances of them watching Crowder and using that particular image is not indicative, and he's gonna hammer this home again. Oh, this is gonna be glorious.
It was false. That's possible.
It's possible.
Now, of the two possibilities, you have one where the media intentionally doesn't want to show the picture for political reasons, or two, they had simply been unable to confirm a picture. The second possibility is more likely.
Different
You'll agree to
question.
that?
Objection form.
No, I don't agree.
All right. Do you really think it was rational to think that the Wall Street Journal, of all places, had made a decision to not show the shooter's face
Yes.
so that they could push a narrative about white supremacy?
Yes.
Yes.
The Wall Street Journal that's owned by News Corp and Rupert Murdoch, that same Wall Street Journal was intentionally deciding not to show the shooter's face for a political reason.
Yes.
That was rational for your mind.
That same Wall Street Journal, I believe it's rational.
I would agree with him there, because there has been and we have seen this on, let's see, if you want to go back to, for example, the Hunter Biden laptop, if you want to go back to the Hunter Biden laptop, and how many social media that would not report on it, how many mainstream media, or as we like to call them, legacy media, would not report on it. If you bring that back to where his point of view is on this, he's very accurate in this, in saying, yes, it's very possible that the reason that they won't even discuss this, that they won't even talk about this being a laptop that now has been proven to be Hunter Biden's laptop, which his father gave him a nice big pardon for all of the shenanigans that he perpetrated, which is also a possible sex trafficking, things of that sort, that it would be very indicative that that same Wall Street Journal would not post anything about this or show it from that perspective. The guy asking questions, yeah, Jim. Guy asking me questions looking for a specific answer that is not there. Absolutely. That is what it boils down to. And the mainstream media has done that a lot. When the shooter doesn't fit their story, they don't show the pictures of the bad guy. And that's also what happened in Tennessee. Whenever you had a shooter go into an elementary school, the rest of the news wouldn't report that this was a transitioned person. They wouldn't discuss that. They wouldn't talk about that. All they would say is there was a shooter, and they had that information as far as their manifesto. They wouldn't report on any of that, and they held all of that information back. If you want to see that information, I actually pulled up quite a bit of that information a little bit later on after it was released by the Tennessean. That information is out there. But of course, that got brushed under until they could push the narrative that there's just bad people out there. And then the kind of stories that were coming around about that time was to push this anti-firearm agenda. So that's where it becomes difficult. We all know the media holds photos for the most stupid reason. Anyone remember when it blurred the photo of a shooter that was on the run, knowing what he looked like was kind of a must, exactly, because they might be looking for someone that didn't quite fit their narrative. It could have been somebody that wasn't a white guy, or wasn't a black guy, or wasn't Hispanic, but they pushed this narrative of saying, yeah, we're not going to show their picture, but that guy could be sitting right next to you in a Denny's. Oh, yes, they did. That's right. Mainstream journalism today isn't the respected, reliable news media that we grew up with. And the way that they reported the Hunter Biden laptop, yeah, that manifesto was at Crowder's. Yes, exactly. I completely agree with you, Jay Leby, and that's where I got that information from, because it took almost a year before we could figure out who that person was or what that manifesto was saying. Their narrative is supposed to be the truth. Well, it's never the truth. It's never the truth. It's a half truth, and if you want to take a half truth as being the truth, they'll omit certain details out of these. And I'm not saying that you have to sit there and make a speculation, which we saw quite a bit in the past, 20 years. We've seen a lot of speculations about things. This is no different than what you see in like the true crime realm, where you have all these suppositions of people that come out and say what they believe to be true, adding in information that is not true, and then whenever it comes out, Rittenhouse is a perfect example of people believing that there were 3 black men that were shot, whenever it turns out it was actually 3 white men. One of them just lost his bicep, forcep, whatever. And that they were not like some of the cream of the crop of people. They weren't out there for good reasons. They were out there to just be disruptors. Media spin is real. Yes. Thank you very much, Levy. That is absolutely correct. Media spin is very real. And it was their chance to say, we needed bigger gun bans. Exactly, Lorraine.
All right. Now, as you said in the video, you acquired the photo from something called Today News Africa, right?
Yep.
I believe so.
Okay. Where did Today News Africa source the photo from?
Objection form.
I don't remember at this moment in time.
Did they say in their reporting?
I don't remember at this moment.
It'd be important to learn that information, right?
It's their reporting. It's important to report accurately on this person's reporting.
Right. So if Today's News Africa had a primary source, that would be useful information to know.
That would be useful.
And if they didn't have any kind of primary source, they had no sourcing whatsoever, that should have been a red flag for you that you couldn't verify the image, right?
Not true.
Objection form.
Could be.
It could be, but not indicative of it.
Mentioned earlier that, okay, so first of all,
That's right, Lorraine.
on May 8th, had you ever heard of Today News Africa?
Yes.
Okay. Had you were familiar with this individual, Simon Ateba?
I don't remember.
Okay. That, to help refresh your memory, that's the person that I believe you referred to as a White House credentialed reporter?
I believe so.
Okay. What credentials, White House credentials, did he have?
Objection form.
I don't know which credentials he had. I know that he was listed as a White House credentialed. I don't know if it was a member of the press corps. There are different kinds of credentials, but that was my understanding.
I mean, how'd you gain this understanding?
Objection form.
I don't remember at that point in time. There would have been people who verified that and told me that was the case.
Okay. Do you think he had any credentials that were any different than any member of the public who applies to access the White House grounds?
Well, than any member of the public, or than members of the public who are allowed to access the White House grounds?
Right. Do you know what a hard pass is to the White House?
A hard pass?
A hard pass. Yeah.
No.
Okay. You understand that any member of the public can apply to the Secret Service to get a pass to enter White House grounds. Did you know that?
I know people can enter a process, sure.
Okay. Do you have any reason to think that he had any different credentials than just getting a hard pass?
What's the information at the time I did?
Okay. And do you have any reason to believe that, well, for instance, like, did you think he was a member of the White House Correspondents Association?
Objection form.
He didn't say
I
that.
don't recall at this time.
Okay. There are a lot of media organizations who have something that they call White House correspondent, right?
That's a very good question. What does it mean when they say objection form, but the person still answers? That happened in Jeremy Hill's also. That's a very good question. And I hope I can answer this properly. I'm not an attorney, but whenever they say objection to form, it means that the way that they formulated that question was improper. And whenever he continues to answer the question, whenever you put an objection in, the way that this happens is this is a deposition. Okay. Big difference between a deposition and being sitting in front of a jury. Okay. A deposition is trying to get on record what you believe at that point in time. So whenever they say objection form, that means that there's an objection. They used a one-word phrase they could say objection could be attorney-client privilege or any other thing of that sort. That's just one of the terminologies, which would be form. And so what happens is whenever a judge views this, because this is not done in front of a judge, this is done in front of attorneys. Whenever a judge views this, they can say that objection stands or it's overruled, and they'll allow that into evidence. This has to do with evidence. And I could be wrong on that, but that's my belief in this. Is so whenever you can still answer the question, but whether it's going to be allowed in as evidence. If there's no objection to the question, they're still required to answer the question to the best of their ability, but there's always a possibility that the judge will deny that portion of it, and that can be presented to the jury. And a perfect example of this, if you ever get a chance to watch the Depp trial, you'll see that there's big skips in there. In a lot of the answers. That's because the judge ruled on it whenever they wanted to show that video deposition, that they actually had to cut those portions out. So the answer doesn't get presented in front of a jury. I hope that makes sense. Like they didn't really lay down, bring formulation to their question for a reason for it. Thank you, Big Al. I appreciate it. Form could be quite a few different things. Yeah, but I hope that explains it, so you understand whenever you hear these kinds of things in a deposition, it's up to the judge to decide whether that gets provided in evidence. So that, yeah, thank you. Excellent. I'm glad you guys understood that. I hope that made sense. It makes sense
Correct.
to my weird mind.
There are even organizations that have people who belong to things called press galleries. They have credentials from a press gallery. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you think that Mr. Ateba had credentials from a press gallery?
Objection form.
I don't recall at this time.
Okay. So in terms of, let me ask you this, in terms of why you believed, well, let me stop because I'm making an assumption. Did you believe that Today News Africa was a credible and reliable news source?
It's my recollection that at that moment in time, I was informed that it was.
Okay. And why did you believe that?
Objection form.
No, I'd be guessing. I would assume because there were other places that were including that image at the time, and people on my staff said that it was.
There were, let's first start with the first part. There were other places using that image at the time. Sitting here today, you can't name any of those, right?
I can't remember them unless I go through perhaps your suit. I believe you include some.
There's definitely some. You definitely have co-defendants, right, who have done it on varying dates. I'm sure none of these people, you understand we have lawyers in this room from Univision and Newsmax, and for Mr. Schroyer, none of those, you didn't rely or see on any of their reporting to do your reporting.
Objection form.
They would have been included. Did you?
Well, some of them occurred after your reporting, so that wouldn't have been them, right?
Well, the ones that occurred before, as you just mentioned.
Right. And do you know any of those?
Objection form.
I would have to go through your suit.
Okay.
Valid response.
I think we can assume, let me take a publication. I'll take one out of thin air. I think we can assume that you would.
Well, let's see what Jim is saying, so it is in the best interest of the attorney to enter the objection anytime they think it's possible or provide opening to have the answer disallowed at trial. Yes. Sometimes the questions and yes, that would be any time that there's something they don't want to allow in trial. Yes. But there's also certain things that you're just like, no, that's you don't want to waste a judge's time with having an objection unless, it's something that, because they already know what the questions are going to be. You have to remember in a deposition, it's not like you don't know the questions that are going to be asked of you when you go into a deposition. You're pretty clear on those questions that are going to be asked. If you've never sat through a deposition, which thankfully have only been through one deposition. It was a car accident. Not anything major. That you sit down with your attorney and they ask you all of the questions that are going to be asked in that deposition. So you already know what those questions are going to be. So it's not like any surprise is coming at you. Like these questions should not be a surprise, because they should stay within the bounds of the questions that they're asking. A perfect example is, like, for example, in the deposition I was in, I had to deal with a car accident. So there would be no reason for them to be asking me about where I was on March 20th, or 1986. Like, what does that have to do with this? Like, this would be coming out of nowhere. This would be a question that it would be completely irrelevant. And of course, if they ask me that, and I'm just using this as a random explanation, if they asked me, said, where were you on March 1st of, 1996, I could honestly say I have no idea. I mean, you're this is an irrelevant question to it. And of course, the attorney at that point would say objection form. I mean, because there would be no reason for asking me that question unless they were after something else. Yes, it's advantageous because if you haven't raised the objection, then you can't raise the objection during trial. Might be mistaken though. No, and you are correct. So, like I said, usually you already know the questions that are going to be asked because it has to do with that particular testimony of it's a fact-finding information. You're trying to get things in the record that are of fact, or what your thoughts were at that particular time, what your beliefs were at that particular time. And if you don't know, you can say, I don't know. That is a reasonable response. March 20th is your birthday. Well, congratulations. Well, we will be celebrating your 25th birthday again. I appreciate it. I was probably recovering from a hangover. If you ask me what I was doing in the 90s, I was probably recovering from a hangover or something of that sort at that point in time too. And I was definitely not born in 96.
Find a publication like Huffington Post to be frequently unreliable. Am I right in that?
No.
Can you give me an example of a media outlet that you would believe that is not sufficiently reliable enough for you to use the word reliable for them?
Sorry, can you reframe?
Yeah, sure. I'm looking for a media organization you don't find to be generally credible. That you would say, hey, these people are frequently enough unreliable that I don't think they should be relied on for state of fact. Do you know a media organization like that?
Well, the issue is there can be many different news outlets that are reliable at that moment in time, especially if it's original reporting. And that's why multiple sources are often included. But Huffington Post, I would say, is reliably opinion presented, obviously leaning left. As far as unreliable, anyone can be unreliable, make mistakes, and they can be reliable in other instances.
Right,
Good
but we
answer.
talked about how not all sources are equal. Some sources are well more reliable than others, right?
Well, and you bring up a point of MSNBC, CNN. Now, and so to his point, what he's saying is they might, if it's an opinion piece, it doesn't mean that it's reliable, but there's a big possibility if they're saying that, you know, there was a nuclear bomb dropped in northeast Minnesota, that most likely they're going to be pretty reliable in that. But as far as the opinion pieces, they might not be as reliable. And a perfect example, and we'll just throw this out there, it would be like Joy, whatever her name was, that just got fired from MSNBC, where most of what she says are opinion pieces, and you can only rely on it as so much as it being an opinion piece. Now, if she was to say something, for example, of that X, Y, or Z happened in such and such place, that could be taken as being reliable, but unreliable would be her opinion on who did what, when, where, why, how, kind of thing. Does that make sense? Joy Reid. Yeah, I couldn't get her name right. Hey, Jessica, good to see you, lovely lady. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, Joy Reid. She's now you can't rely on a lot of her opinions, but you could rely on what she's reporting, as far as saying, well, the president's plane landed at JFK at such and such date. I would find that reliable. So what he's saying is there are certain things that you can rely on that are true, but whenever you get into the minutia of it, it may not be as reliable. I used to be this guy on CNN, but I don't know if he's there anymore. Man, he was way off. Yeah. But you also have to determine whether it's an opinion or whether he's reporting the news. So that is the problem with a lot of the mainstream media. Your watch is broken. So if yes, it's accurate, it's twice a day. That's correct, Al.
Sometimes.
Okay. So let's take, for instance, let's take Huffington Post. Huffington Post has a White House correspondent. You understand that?
If you say so.
Okay. That fact, the fact that they have a White House correspondent, that doesn't make them reliable, does it?
It would be something taken into consideration.
Good point.
I would tend to imagine that you would find the majority of White House correspondents to be generally unreliable. Is that not true?
Objection form.
If it's an opinion
generally
piece,
disagree with many of them.
Well, I mean, you tell your audience on a pretty regular basis that various mainstream organizations are lying.
they are.
That's correct.
Not just unreliable, not just makes mistakes, actively lies to them. You told
Yes.
your audience that many times about mainstream media.
And there is a difference, yes.
And so, say you got a mainstream media organization, one that you've criticized for lying in the past. It wouldn't follow for you to consider that organization to be generally reliable, would it?
No, that's incorrect.
Can you reconcile for me how, I mean, look, we're talking about the bad old MSM, the ones who lie all the time. Can you reconcile to me your position publicly that these organizations are filled with politicized liars with the idea that no, actually they're generally reliable?
I didn't say they were generally reliable.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure of. Is that
I
just
said
because,
I wouldn't write them off as unreliable.
right?
There have been people who I disagree with politically,
Right.
tremendously, who have outright lied in some instances, and then have done original reporting in other instances.
And so you know to do your own due diligence when you're dealing with that kind of media outlet, right?
Objection form.
Yeah, that is bad form.
Go ahead.
With any media outlet, but I
With
wouldn't
any
write
media outlet.
off one as completely unreliable or one as completely reliable. That's why
In
I
other
make
words-
the reference available.
Good point.
And why it's important to do your own due diligence, correct?
And why I think it's most important to make your references publicly available.
All right. In order for the
Oh,
image
yeah.
to be shown on your
Good
show, that
call.
day, again, we talked about it. It wasn't the when you're broadcasting on the show as you're saying it. That's not the first time you see that image. You saw it before you went on the show.
Yes.
And you would have to, in order for the image to be shown on your show, you would have to approve its use.
Objection form.
Yes.
Okay. And once you use the image and approve it, were other Louder with Crowder staff members permitted to use that image, or would
Absolutely.
they have to take some additional steps before they could use the image?
It would be.
I love that.
Okay. Before you decided to use our client's image, did you know if you were looking at the original image?
What do you mean?
If the image that you were looking at was the original image, or if it had been somebody else's edited image, if it had been cropped, changed, manipulated, anything like that?
I don't recall at this time. That would have been a process with staff with any image.
Did you know who took the original image?
I don't recall at this time.
Did you know when the photo was taken?
I don't recall at this time. That's why I referenced the person who had included that image.
Did you know where the photo was taken?
I don't recall at this time.
Did you at least know why the photo was taken?
No.
Again, I don't recall at this time.
Okay. Well, we know we're looking at a booking photograph, right?
Beg your pardon?
We know we're looking at a booking, the photo that you used in my
Is it?
client, we know we're looking at a booking photograph.
A booking photograph?
Correct.
Okay. What
You
does that
like-
mean?
Do you mean a mugshot?
Correct.
Well, I don't know that we know that right now, but that was the reporting from
Okay.
the sources at that time.
Let's put it this way. That's the information you had at that time.
That's the
Yeah.
information that was being reported on at
Okay.
that time.
All right.
Hmm.
Considering it was in other words, if the information you relied on is, hey, I'm looking at a mugshot, I'm looking at a booking photograph. Well, let me go back. Let me actually scratch that question. You knew the shooter wasn't arrested for the shooting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he was deleted.
And you knew that from law enforcement on their announcement of his name and age and details that he had no criminal history, right?
That the shooter had no criminal history?
Right.
The shooter who was killed in Allen?
Correct.
I don't recall that at this time that he had no criminal history.
Would it be the normal practice of your show when covering an event like this to keep up with the announcements from DPS and City of Allen Police, the law enforcement officials?
Objection form.
Yeah, it's bad for
I
him.
don't know at that specific instance in time. I would imagine there'd be an aggregation of sources.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: if you
I
had,
imagine that's where we got the footage. I don't know where we got the footage of the officer who, shot the shooter.
sure, okay.
But again, I don't remember.
Assume for me that you had taken the efforts to find out about the details of the shooter, right? That he was Mauricio Garcia, 33 years of age, Dallas, Texas, no criminal history. If you had known that information, you would have known the image that you were looking at, this mugshot, was not the shooter, right?
No.
All right, well, let me try to walk you through the logic of this. I'm gonna go ahead and assume for me that you knew, right? And I don't know if you did. I don't know if you did or you did not look at this or whatever. I'm not making that assumption. But if you did know the shooter had no criminal history and you knew he wasn't arrested for the shooting, you knew that mugshot wasn't a picture of the shooter, right? That way, if you had known that information, you would have reached that conclusion.
No.
Can you explain to me how a person with no criminal history and no arrest for the shooting, how they would have a mugshot?
Well, and no criminal history, then why would there be a mugshot? Well, but if you didn't know that was a mugshot, if you just had an image, then how would you know if if it was an actual mug shot or if it was a picture of that person? It could have been a high school yearbook picture for all you know at that point in time. So, I mean, valid question, but yeah, I mean, and I think that's where he's going with this is, he's trying to make it like, oh, you should have known this was a mugshot picture, and without anybody, he's trying to corner Stephen. Yeah, he's trying. Since when are we allowed to ask hypothetical questions in a deposition? You're always allowed to ask hypothetical questions in a deposition. Now, it just depends on your answer. And of course, he'd be able to answer, well, that's hypothetical. I can't answer that because I don't know. And that's why he said multiple times this, I don't know, because he honestly does not know. That if you're saying it's a mugshot of this person, doesn't necessarily mean that you believe it's a mugshot of that person, because you're just showing an image. Trying to get a gotcha question there. Yeah, it looked like they were trying to. And you can get a mugshot but not be charged with a crime. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Levy. That's a very good point. I hadn't thought of that.
You were the one who said we are under the assumption that it's a mugshot. I know that at
Right,
that
that's what
moment,
had been
Mauricio, I just want to make sure I'm understanding Mauricio, because obviously it's a little complicated. You just mentioned Mauricio Garcia, 33 years old, right? Dallas, Texas area, Hispanic. That information is accurate to my understanding.
Yes, all that's accurate.
Okay. And the image was not.
Right, the image is Mauricio Garcia, 36 years old in Dallas. Right, I understand that.
Okay.
What I'm asking you is something a little different. Is that if the information you were being reported is, hey, this mugshot is the shooter. But if you had known he had no criminal history and wasn't arrested for the shooting, you should have concluded based on that information that that's not the shooter. Is that fair?
No, I disagree.
Okay. Again, can you try to explain to me how somebody who has no criminal history and was not arrested for the shooting, how they would have a booking photograph?
I was reporting on the reported information that include the other information, which we both just agreed was accurate, and an image. I don't remember the rest of the details.
I'm
Damn, what a good answer. What a beautiful answer. Oh, this is a longer deposition, and of course I like to interrupt things in the middle of it. So what we're going to do tonight is we will be covering more of this, and at some point in time we're actually going to have a dramatic reading of that deposition, and that's going to require a few people to come in and be part of this whole thing. But I will continue this on, but tonight is not the night to continue it on. So if you're liking this, make sure that you hit that thumbs up. Make sure that you're subscribed up to it. There will be more on this, and this is quite a bit of information. But one of the reasons why I found this so interesting, one, Libby pointed this out to me. Thank you very much. Chef's kiss to you, sir. That this goes to show how easily that you can be tricked while you're answering a deposition, and the kind of shady questions that somebody can answer whenever or ask whenever they're allowed free reign, and how a deposition should be handled. So if you ever find yourself in a deposition, just know that the way that Stephen is handling himself is completely professional. He's answering the questions to the best of his ability, is what you're supposed to do. You shouldn't lie or make up tales whenever you do a deposition. You should be able to answer those truthfully. And I think this goes to show the big difference in the way that the attorney is asking questions, the way that you see Stephen Crowder answering the questions, the way that the attorney that is Stephen Crowder's attorney that's handling how these questions are being asked, the way that they're raising objections. This is done the way that most depositions happen. And some of them can be a little more contentious, and that's because if the attorney is asking bad questions, you're going to see a lot of pushback from somebody. This deposition is very similar to Lynette's. Oh no, it's showing you the difference in the two. Crowder didn't know that it was a mugshot, absolutely either, but yet he kept saying it was a mugshot, but nobody still really knows it was. Very good point, Hal. Very, 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 very good point. Thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful time tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be on with Mo in the Deep End. We've got a stream. We'll be starting up a little bit later than usual. I won't be starting up at 7. I'll be starting up at 8, but I will have Mo in the Deep End, and I guarantee you we're going to have an absolute blast as we do every Friday, whether it's on my channel or hers. And I'm going to throw all of you wonderful people over to go see MG Law. He is doing some Travelers on the Land, and that is always entertaining. I may join him for just a short bit, but everyone have a wonderful night. Be kind to one another, and don't play any banjos unless you're expecting a little bit of that, what do you call that? Squeal like a pig kind of thing. Something.
Oh, you thought I was done, bless your heart, but I'm still living rent-free, it's a work of art. Call me daddy, call me nut, call me the goat. You're paddling upstream while I'm running this boat. You say, I don't care, yet you're glued to the screen, caught up in my glow while you stay unseen. Your shade's like a breeze, it's barely a draft. Meanwhile, I'm the Picasso of roasting your ass. You say you're over me, oh how cute, but here I am, still the star of your loop. You're my biggest fans, don't even deny, so grab some popcorn when daddy goes live. Live. Call me daddy, yeah, shout it loud. King of your thoughts, I'm making you proud. Papa Nut, Shizzy Daddy, headline act. Your background noise, and that's just a fact. Let's face the score. You hate that you love me, but you keep wanting more. You're like a dog chasing cars, you don't know why. But here you are, barking while I touch the sky. Your comments are gold, such comedy gold. Who hurt you? Oh wait, it's me, I'm told. You're keeping tabs like an unpaid intern while I'm cashing checks. When will you learn? Your timeline's a shrine to every move I make. I'd say thanks, but you're a nasty skank. Oh, Shizzy's washed up. Yeah, sure, Jan, yet here I am, the centerpiece of your plan. You hate watch my stream like it's Oscar night, but guess what, kiddos? I'm still shining bright. Call me daddy. Send in your bread, I'm still rent-free in your effing head. Papa Nut, Shizzy Daddy on your brain. I'm your mental landlord, you can't complain. Let's keep it real. You hate that I'm winning, but you love how it feels. Oh, I'm sorry, did I break your streak? You tried to ignore me for like half a week, but daddy's too spicy, you can't look away. I'm the train wreck you need every single day. So while you're out there with your plastic clout, I'm here sipping coffee watching you freak out. You're irrelevant, wow, what a take. Now go rewatch my vids while I count how much I make. I count how much I make. Call me daddy, yeah, own it now. I'm reading your brain and you don't know how. Papa Nut, Shizzy Daddy, let's set the bar. I'm the constellation, you're a burned out star. Embrace your role, cause I'm the main character. You're just an old ragged ass, burned out troll. So that's your bedtime story, kids tucked in sweet and snug. Shizzy Daddy's forever, you lose and you're stuck in the mud. Now say goodnight to Papa Nut, your mental pain. Oh wait, you will see me tomorrow's. Agenda will see me tomorrow, same obsession, same effing thing.
Kisses to all of you.